Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today we are going to play around with a very simple fun fold card. And I have 4 different ways you can use this fun fold design in your card making. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have 4 different ways that you can create an offsetting gatefold card. Now, the cards in this video feature the Fluffiest Friends stamp set from Stampin Up. So this is actually a brand new bundle of products. So it's a stamp set and a die set. And this is one of the new online exclusives, which just launched yesterday. So these are the coordinating dies for this particular stamp set. Now, the Fluffiest Friends stamp set does not have any greetings, so I decided to use some of the greetings from the Very Best Occasions stamp set. You can use any greetings or supplies you have on hand. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the card base for this card. So as you can see, it's an offsetting gatefold, which means the panels, the 2 panels that open up the gate, are different sizes. They're irregular. So normally a gatefold card comes right down the center and both sides are equal. But we're going to make them irregular today, and I'm going to show you 4 different ways that you can use that card base to create some really cute cards. Okay, so you're going to start with a piece of cardstock, which is cut at 5.5 by 8.5 inches. So we are going to score this cardstock base in order to create this fun fold design. So you're going to start out at 1.25 inches. So I have the 8.5 inch side at the top. I'm just going to line this up at 1.25 inches, and then I'm just going to make a little score line. Then I'm going to scoot the card base over all the way to 5.5 inches. And then we're going to make another score line. Okay, so now we're just going to fold on these score lines. So this is the first score line we created. That's the 1.25 inch section. And then this is the second score line, which is the 5.5. So you create this offsetting gatefold style card. And now we can use this card base to decorate it in a variety of different ways. Okay, so the first couple of ways that we can use this card base is we can use it in portrait style. So that means that the card runs vertically instead of landscape style, which is this direction. So we have 2 different card ideas here. And as you can see, I basically just switched around the card base. So for this particular card, this small section is on the left side. And for this particular card, I just changed it around, basically turned the card base and put this smaller section on the right side. So it would open this way. So either way works perfect. And you can use the exact same measurements I just gave you to create the card base, no matter which design you choose to use. Okay, so now let me show you how I decorated these cards. So the first thing I'm going to do is just add some designer paper. You can use any designer paper you have on hand. I'm using some of the Garden Walk Designer Series papers. So I started by cutting a 2 3/4 by 5.25 inch piece of this paper. And this is going to go on that larger section of the gatefold. Next, I just chose a different pattern. This is actually the back side of the floral paper. And this piece is 1 by 5.25 inches. And so I'm putting that on that small little section of the gatefold card. And so that's the basic design. And then I just added my embellishments and focal point. So to create the focal point for this card, I simply used one of the images from the Fluffiest Friends stamp set, and I just colored it in with a variety of different stamping blends. This little square shape is a 2 3/8 inch by 2 3/8 inch. So I use the stylish shapes dies to create it, but you can easily cut this with your paper trimmer if you don't have those dies. And then I just created a little matting for this square, and this is a 2 5/8 by 2 5/8 inch piece. So I'm just going to adhere these 2 pieces together, and this will create one of the pieces for decorating the front of my card. So the next thing I'm going to do is just stamp my little greeting, and I'm using one of the Very Best Occasions images. And I'm just stamping it using early espresso ink. And then I am punching it out with this double oval punch. And the cool thing about this double oval punch is that you can punch out the one, which has the greeting, and then you can punch out a second one up on the top here to just add a little bit of color, a little bit of matting behind your greeting. So that's what I did. So we'll just add this. And then we have a really nice little greeting for the card. So I'm going to bring back the card base. And one of the things that I want to show you is that this particular card has an interlocking section here. So you can see that the gatefold doesn't stay closed on its own. It tends to pop up. So I just used my greeting and I used my focal point to kind of create that closure. So the first thing that I did is I just adhered this little image here to this small flap. So I'm just going to add some dimensionals right here on the right side because I only want this piece adhered to the smaller section. I don't want any glue or any dimensionals on this side. So we will just adhere this. Let's go right about here. And then I took my greeting and I added some dimensionals to that. So I tried to kind of keep these in the middle of this little oval. And I'm going to hold the card down. And basically what I want to do is I want to adhere this so that it overlaps slightly on this side of that focal point. But I don't want to adhere my dimensionals to this focal point. So I'm just going to kind of go right about here and add it. And then that holds everything closed. And then you can just untuck this to open it. And then you can tuck it back in to keep it closed. Okay, so does that make sense? So you have a really nice closure. So now I will show you how I decorated the inside. So for the inside of the card, I started with a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white cardstock. And then I just used up a little scrap piece of the designer paper. So this is just 3/4 inches wide and it's 5 1/4 inches long. And it's just going to go on the left side of this white cardstock piece. And then the last thing I did is just stamped a little sentiment on the inside of the card. And you can add additional designer paper or any kind of decorations that you want. But I just wanted to make this very simple just to show you the basic design for this fun fold card. Okay, and the last two ways that you can use this fun fold design in your card making is simply by changing the orientation of the card. So with the first card, I decorated it in portrait style. And with these next two cards, I decorated them in landscape style. So basically, I just took the original card base and I just turned it to landscape style. And that is how I decorated these two cards. So you can see you still have the small section and the large section. It's just I changed the orientation around. So changing the orientation of your cards is just a great way to just kind of use the same card design, but just use it a little bit differently. So here you can see I have that smaller section on the bottom. Here the smaller sections on the top. So it's the same fun fold design, just a different orientation. So here are just a couple more card ideas. This time I just used a different image and different colors or pattern papers from that DSP pack, but the concept is the same. You can make it interlocking like I did here. And then see how I added more designer paper on the inside just to decorate it. So you can make it interlocking, or you don't have to make it interlocking. And that's what I did with these two landscape style cards. I put the birthday greeting on the inside and then just decorated it a little bit differently than I did the other ones. Okay, so there you go. Now you have 4 different ways you can use the offsetting gatefold design in your card making. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the card shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.